6 p.m. in Betwa, that is the chief town of the East region of Cameroon. Good evening, dear listeners, all televiewers of Equinoxe television. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. First, our major points. After being reported missing on Sunday, March 16 in the town of Boya, chief town of the Southwest region, the corpse of Nathaniel Eyole, a student of Baptist High School Boya, is later found today, Monday, by residents. According to his classmates, he was swept by running water while he was in search of a ball which they were playing with. Who really assassinated journalist Martinez Zogo? 3 months after he was kidnapped and later murdered, his assassins are yet to be clearly identified in court. The prime suspects are still in pre-trial detention. Those were our major stories. The news in full in a few seconds. Once more, good evening, dear televiewers. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. We begin with a sad story coming from the Southwest region, where a student of Baptist High School Boya has been killed by floods. Sources say the student got missing on Sunday while he was raining. After an intensive search, his body was later found around Woya Lonze neighborhood there in the Southwest region. Asia Lucy Liengu spoke to his friend and the school principal and compiled the following report.
For the child inside the water in Bakun town.
It was on this point that Nathaniel Eyole Mujimbo, from one student of Baptist High School, was swept away by heavy floods in the Boya town neighborhood. According to his friends, they were playing football in the rain when the ball went to the direction of the running water.
When I was going up to a field, suddenly I saw the way he was going inside water. Before I started following him, after I held his hand inside the water. Since I was inside water, I held his hand. Before I fell down, his hand came out and he was going.
To the school principal, the information circulating on social media is not true. He explains the circumstances leading to the boy's disappearance.
These little children, being what they are, about 6 of them decided to sneak out themselves from the dormitory unknowingly to the dormitory captain. And behind that dormitory, there is a ravine there, a small gutter where water passes. So when they got there, they decided to influence each other that they should jump and be skipping over the flowing water. So the first one jumped and successfully skipped over the flowing water. And when he beckoned on his friend to follow him suit, in his attempt to skip over the water, he slipped and then fell into the torrent.
A shocking situation for the school principal, who also says that attempts to rescue the young boy was all in vain.
I immediately joined the rest of the search team. We moved for more than 2 kilometers away from the school and we could not find the body. I also decided to inform the parents of the child, who, after a short while, they to arrive and they joined us in the search effort. We finally called the State Council, the Mayor, the Commissioner of Police from Moliko, and the Chief of Grade Support. They all came to campus. And together, we tried as much as possible on how we could join in our search effort to recover this young man. It was until at exactly midnight yesterday.
The remains of the young boy has been deposited at the Limbe Regional Hospital mortuary, while the family members remain inconsolable.
A sad incident there from the Southwest region of Cameroon. And on to something else. Today, April 17, marks exactly 3 months that the Martinez Zogo affair began. That is, from his kidnap. While Amugu Belinga and co were officially charged and sent to the Kondengui Central Prison on pre-trial detention for torture leading to death, lawyers of the culprits continue appealing for the release of their client on bail, despite a refusal, as legal proceedings continue to establish the responsibility of each of them in the assassination before slammed jail terms. We have more of this report compiled by Innocent Aze.
Contacted recently, Barrister Caravan Job, one of the defense lawyers of the family of journalist Martinez Zogo, told us that legal proceedings are continuing to obtain full justice for the journalist who was kidnapped, tortured to death in Yaoundé and his body mutilated. The lawyer as well noted that they are keen to avoid any form of judicial manipulation by lawyers of Jean-Pierre Amogu Belinga and co. incarcerated at the Kunengi Central Prison for torturing the journalist, resulting to his death. Lawyers of the culprits of torture leading to death have been appealing for the release of their clients on bail. Martinez Zogo, it should be recalled, was kidnapped in Yaoundé on January 17, 2023. This April 17 marks exactly 3 months when that incident took place. 5 days later, his mutilated corpse was found in Ebogo, a locality on the outskirts of Yaoundé. After a series of condemnation by the national and international press, the national and international communities, the Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Gongo, on January 27th, upon high instruction from the head of state, demanded the creation of a commission of inquiry constituting the National Gendarmerie and police. They were charged to investigate and arrest the suspects of the journalist's assassination. On February 2, government announced the arrest of several suspects of the abduction, torture, and assassination of the Amplitude FM radio boss. Some of the suspects included Jean-Pierre Amogu Belinga, Visionka TV CEO, alongside his wife, daughter, Bruno Bijang, Leopold Maxime Eko, Colonel Raymond Etundin Soué, Justin Danwe, and several commandos alleged to have been hired to kill Martinez Zogo. They were all interrogated at the State Defense Secretariat, said severally. Bruno Bijang, Colonel Raymond Etundin Soué, wife and daughter of Amogu Belinga, were later freed, while Amogu Belinga, Justin Danwe, Maxime Eko, and several commandos remain at set for further investigation. Early Saturday, March 4, they were sent to the Kunengi Central Prison after being officially charged for aiding and torturing Martinez Zogo to death, respectively, by the Yaoundé Military Court. While there on pre-trial detention as legal proceedings continue on the Martinez Zogo affair, lawyers of Belinga are not relenting efforts to secure the release of their clients on bail, despite refusal.
And away from the Martinez Zogo murder case, we now talk education. For an optimal third term of the academic year, school administrators say they have employed measures to psychologically accompany their students, given the rise in violence and social ills. Speaking on day one of the start of the third term in Douala, the administrative and teaching staff of Government Bilingual High School Bipanda and Lycée Polyvalent of Bonaberi say they have adopted more practical approach to ensure optimal results, especially for kids going in for official examinations. We have more of this report compiled by Fomi Armstrong Sanda.
To ensure optimal results in end-of-year examinations, teachers at Government Bilingual High School Bipanda and Lycée Polyvalent in Bonaberi adopted and began implementing success strategies before the official start of the third term.
Since we had catch-up classes during holidays, so students were present in Lycée Polyvalent de Bonaberi. In my classes in Premier F4B and Terminal AA, I met my students and they were really enthusiastic. They had catch-up classes, and I believe that with the upcoming examination, they are already ready.
The term is limited with much work to be done, and teachers say that they started immediately with more practical-based approaches.
The ongoing class is mathematics, pure mathematics for the A-level. So the strategized method are taken for them to completely forget what they had during the Easter break and focus on their goals, which is the GC. So is that I've established a consistent work where we have different groups, a group of maybe 5 of them. Each groups have about 8 members for a particular set of question paper. So the strategy we are going to deploy is that each group will be attributed a question paper, a standardized GC question, where each member will contribute to a solution to that paper, and then we are going to have an expose where everybody will then dispose tasks they have been asked to work on.
All right, what we did with students in class is to give them exercises. Like, since the program has already been covered up, what we did is catch-up classes, exercises. Together, we come out with the solutions. We come out with corrections that will permit them to boost or to prepare them perfectly for their exams. So what we did is we enter in contact with their parents. I particularly with their parents. We created a forum where we were all the teachers who were present or participating in that class. They had that platform to discuss with the parents and permit the parents to know what the students are facing as difficulties so that they themselves can help us in doing our work perfectly. And notwithstanding, we also did a digitalization since we said it is very important for students to learn online. That's what we did with them too during holidays, and we are still doing it right now.
Beside the students going in for end-of-year examinations, those going in for class examinations say they are determined to make a better term before the end of the year.
I felt very relaxed today because school started back, and I feel like this is the last term to challenge myself and do better than the last term. I'm ready to challenge myself, to correct my errors, to do better than the last time, and then to pass my exam.
Administrators say that security measures have been reinforced to provide a conducive learning environment for kids. They have also increased measures to accompany the student psychologically, given the growing impacts of the internet and growing social ills in the society.
We now talk something else. Secretaries or executive assistants play an important role in the growth of enterprises. However, these individuals usually face a lot of challenges while exercising their duties. Our reporter Annabella Leke followed the secretary upon her arrival at work, and she explains the various difficulties she faces while doing her job. We have details in her report.
Madame Bicheli Tinti Kambi has been working as an executive assistant for over 23 years now. She arrives at her workplace as early as 7:30 a.m. every day.
First thing in the morning, usually I have the evening files that I started processing, because my boss usually comes to work much earlier than I do. He gets here by 6:30, so he has signed a couple of things before I get here, and sometimes he has sent a couple of mails too, so I have to check my mail and find out what are the things that he has requested that I should do, and try to classify them into priority and then go on with it. Usually when I'm leaving I have my priorities, but his priorities are on top of mine. Your boss is like your closest partner with whom you have to you must know him, you must know how he works, you must know what he likes and what he doesn't, and he too should know how to respect you in return. So if you don't handle it that way, it's a bit difficult.
Meeting with different persons with various behaviors has been an uphill task all the way.
I've had instances where somebody comes and insists even when you don't want to let him in. Maybe somebody of a certain age or a certain position that you cannot just mishandle. Because here, before getting to my office, you must pass through the reception, and the reception has to announce you, and then I'll either allow him to come up or not. So when somebody like that insists down there, I'll let him come up.
She has to battle between verbal violence and other confrontations while at her duty post.
Don't have to push a customer, even when he comes insulting. The more you insult, the more quiet you are, the more soft you are. The worst thing is not the person that comes and is rude. The worst thing is when the boss says he's not receiving anyone, and then somebody comes and you let him go because the boss is not receiving, and when he's down, he sends a call to the boss, and the boss calls him in. He's sure that you are the person preventing him from coming in.
To make matters somehow worse for her, Madame Beach SARS, a secretary or executive assistant, must have an understanding and trustworthy spouse for her job to flow normally.
24 hours you are an assistant. You don't choose time to be an assistant. And my husband knows that. That also is valid even for him at home. If I can reply to his message, I'm replying as soon as possible. I'm lucky I have a husband that trusts me, He knows what I can do.
Between leaving the house very early, going back late, and even traveling out for days with her boss, secretaries are very often caught in the web.
Sometimes he leaves and he leaves me here, and I remain here for like an hour or more because I have things to close before I leave. I don't want to be home and to be thinking about things I have not done and not being able to find sleep when it's time to sleep.
Being a secretary or an executive assistant must be a passion and part of you. She says this is because work doesn't end at the office, but sometimes continue at home even at odd hours.
Par rapport à la réunion de tout à l'heure, la salle était réservée, mais sauf que là j'ai une urgence, je dois décaler ta salle de réunion.
An incredible job right there. And now we talk economy. Strategies to increase banana and plantain production in the country will be top on the agenda as stakeholders will meet in November 2023 during the second edition of the International Festival of Banana and Plantains. During a preparatory meeting that took place in the Southwest region, it was agreed that a gala match will take place between some former Indomitable Lands players and equally that of the Super Eagles of Nigerian players as part of the activities ahead of this year's festival. We have more with Smart Chikan Gabriel.
The over 700 million tons of bananas and plantains produced in the country still remains insufficient for the nation. This is as a result of the increase in population. It is for this reason that the Ministry of Agriculture has decided to organize every year an international festival for banana and plantains. This year's edition that will be holding in the Southwest region will be an opportunity for the producers to meet with investors to help in the plantation and banana sector.
We are in Southwest Regional Assembly is interested in this festival because we are looking at the multiplier effect of this event. We see at the end of this event more investors coming to transform plantains so that the value chain will be added. We also see in it an opportunity for plantain farmers in the Southwest region to have improved variety of planting material because we have a huge quantity of land which is available for the planting, the growing of plantain, but our farmers need to be supplied with more improved and more resistant planting material so that their production can increase.
It will be an opportunity for the investors to visit this plantation and see for themselves the difficulties faced by some of the farmers.
To mobilize the farmers, and this mobilization has to be done through certain institutions like common initiative groups. We need to get the species of plantains that will be in a position to produce.
In prelude to the launching billed for November 2023, all stakeholders were present during a preparatory meeting that was chaired by the President of the Southwest Regional Assembly. Highlights of this year's edition will be a gala match between the former Indomitable Lions players, represented by Joseph Bell Antoine, and former Super Eagles. To this effect, an agreement was reached. The match between the former Indomitable Lions and Super Eagles will be played in November 2023 in Limbe. The International Festival for Banana and Plantains will be in its second edition in the Southwest region after Ebola in the first season.
And from economy, we now move to religion. Catholic Christians celebrate God's forgiveness and sacrificial love on the cross of Calvary. The Christians went on pilgrimage at the Otele Sanctuary, a locality in the central region of Cameroon. The Mass was presided over by the Bishop of the Yaoundé Archdiocese, His Grace Jean Baga. Malaglory tells us more about this pilgrimage done a week after Easter Sunday.
First Sunday after Easter, Catholic Christians celebrate God's divine mercy, a day put aside to offer thanksgiving and prayers to God for sending His Son to die for their sins. Catholic Christians of Otele Sanctuary, a locality in the central region, observed this day with an all-night vigil, pilgrimage, and ended with a church mass presided over by His Grace Jean Barga.
And this day has been chosen to celebrate this forgiveness from God. That is why we are very happy to be clean in the name of God, to be saved in the name of God. And when we return back home, we say this day has given us this sanctity coming from our baptism. So I'm very proud to see all these people here, and I'm proud. I know that God has blessed all of us.
Part of activities marking the day was a Station of the Cross, during which the Bishop of the Yaoundé Archdiocese reminded Christians of God's love to mankind. The Christian described such sacrifice as a golden opportunity. It is another opportunity for sinful Christians to repent, and this is divine mercy. The Christians during the Sunday Mass also raised funds for the construction of the Otere Sanctuary.
And that report done by Malaglory puts an end to the first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with me today on Talking Point. On today's edition of Talking Point, I will be receiving a human rights advocate and consultant. He's known as Gabi Ambo. He works right there in Bamenda, chief town of Northwest Region. It is a pleasure having you on Talking Point today, Gabi Ambo.
Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for having me on Talking Point. This is a great honor and pleasure for me to be here.
So, Gabi Ambo, what's the security situation of Bamenda today? We know that Monday ghost towns instituted by separatist fighters is still on. Is a ghost town still respected, and how does life look like on such a day?
I just want to set a few things that the military and the non-state armed groups are still on ground battling out. Then you have the civilians exposed to attacks from either side, and they are caught in between the crossfire in that circumstance. The human rights abuse and violations remain on ground as well. And you have, though there are seemingly a reduction in the attacks away from the high scale of attacks that we had in 2019 and 2020, there's a slight drop in those attacks, but the threats remain, and rape, sexual violence actually remains on the rise on the ground in that circumstance. You have accidents actually that leads to the killing of citizens by military trucks, and you have the infiltration of the country by assassins and pirates from a neighboring country, and being able to kidnap others out of the country in the circumstance. You have the Fulanese and the indigenes actually that have been on daggers drawn for quite a while now, most especially those that have been armed when they were serving as the anti-gangs or so in the various communities where they were now. They become a threat to the people in that circumstance. And so these are some of the major security concerns that we have in the Northwest. The particular cases here we have to look at Donga Mountain division, and we look at the Menchum division. And Donga Mountain most especially is Akko area, Akko subdivision, wherein most of these acts actually were perpetrated in that circumstance up to the moment as we're speaking in the regard.
So, Gabi Ambo, you talked about human rights violations. Considering that the ghost town has been on for a long while, are there any cases of human rights violations directly linked to the ghost towns?
Towns are still ongoing in the Northwest region, and particularly in Bamenda area, and that the violations are actually that still exist with the institution of the Monday's Ghost Town. Quite wide and varied. To see that some of these incidences vary from one part of town to the other, given that the incidences in the areas like Nkwen, which is mostly dominated by settlers, actually has dwindled a little, and then there's some bit of movement in those areas by bikes that apply from Queen to upstation and back in smaller quantities, smaller numbers. And then you have areas like Travelers, you have areas like Nitop, areas like Mulang, and other areas of town which actually remain so challenging in the sense that there's no circulation in those areas in the circumstance. For the categories of violations that occur on this Monday, we understand that as a result of kidnappings and extrajudicial executions, and we have ransom taking and all of those things, many people are dissuaded from moving, and then this leads to rights to life. Actually, it was threatened. You realize most people are killed on Monday, ghost towns and other lockdown days, and you have right to freedom of expression and movement. Actually, it has been denied or curtailed on such Mondays. People are locked in their houses and they definitely cannot move. We have the right to education. Most children don't go to school because those days, even government offices, even private offices, most all of them do not even function on Mondays because of the severity of the ghost Monday ghost downs in the circumstance. You have they don't go to work. Like I said, the right to work is violated as well. You have a right to leisure, of course, denied. Most especially children could play in open space and all of that. But on Monday, lockdown on Monday goes down like this one now. People are limited to their own area of residence, and they definitely do not get out of that because of the risks that are involved in the circumstance. You have torture is exacerbated in the sense that both the military and the non-state armed groups, when they get engaged, most especially on days of this nature that the roads are clear now, the few individuals who come out get caught in the crossfire and they get executed and they get killed in that order. And so the torture or being molested, the torture grows by the day on such days.
So, Gabi Ambo, another major issue where rights concerns were raised is assassination of journalist Martinez Zogo. As a rights activist, what are some of the rights concerns identified by you and your organization, that is from his kidnap to later his assassination?
Yeah, for the case of Martinez Zogo, which is a pathetic case, the killing of the journalist, the manner in which that was done, it's horrifying and annoying and disturbing. That is something that we need to condemn to the best of our abilities. The violations that he is suffered. Actually, you have the right to life because he was killed. You have a right to free expression as of Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which we consider soft law that we expect that definitely will be legislated in Cameroon to ensure that a proper law comes in place to protect journalists specifically in that regard. And we have rights to decent burial. He has not been buried for the number of times that he is still kept in the mortuary, which is definitely not the best thing to do health-wise in that regard. And the right to protection. Our journalists have rights to protection, and he definitely did not have the right to protection. Even we know that he ran to a facility which was a security facility that is expected to get protection and safety from that. But on the contrary, they refused not to open the gate, and the state mute is as if it was a complicity that actually that had been carried on in that circumstance. This is the category of violations actually had to hover around Martinez Zogo.
Now, it's been 3 months now since the Martinez Zogo affair came to the limelight. What's your view of how the case is being handled by the judiciary?
You talk about justice delayed, seemingly as it has dragged on for quite a long while, about 3 months. Nothing is more being done after the arrest of the suspects, a few suspects that were arrested, and they started talking, and the population was like anxious to know exactly how they're going with this. But it turned out that the things have suddenly gone down or gone moribund for 3 years, 3 months down the line. I beg your pardon. We don't seem to hear anything, not on radio, not on television, not on even the papers and all of that. So we're like using this moment, to call on the authorities concerned to expedite the trial and investigations of the other suspects in that circumstance without respect of status or race or creed or origin or whatever you may hold, that no one is above the law in that circumstance. So we are craving and calling on the state of Cameroon not to ensure that investigations should be speed up and then trial commence without delay, that let all suspects be brought to face the arm of justice when found in that order after proper investigation. There should, first of all, be credibility in the judicial process in Cameroon. because it's been a lot that actually has brought the judiciability of the judicial sector in the country to question. And we think that men of the judiciary should be men of integrity and should be men actually who will be able to mean their words and stand by them in that circumstance. And so when they will dispense of justice, that justice will go down on the minds of all citizens in that regard. And we are expecting that, let all suspects be brought to face the arm of justice. There should, first of all, be credibility in the judicial process in the circumstance, and that would depend the category of persons or the kind of persons and personalities that get on the judicial sector in Cameroon. And then we talk about independence of the judiciary should be primordial to all else. For it to be able to act successfully and to be able to bring justice to those who need or deserve that justice, there should be that independence that actually should be given unto them, as the provisions of the law state that the separation of the arms of state or the arms of government. You have the executive, you have the judiciary, and you have the legislature. This are supposed to be independent to ensure that there be a check on each other in terms of applicability of decisions that are taken at all levels in that regard. And when we talk about let the true perpetrators be made to face justice, irrespective of their race, status, or belonging, or whatever political coloration they may have. And we think this is a very essential, very important thing to do. It may not necessarily be abuse of human rights or what you may consider as abuse of the rights of Cameroonians, but it could just be a delay in a process, which may definitely not necessarily mean anything negative. But that is always good to avoid such cloud by ensuring that the due process be respected to the letter by all concerned who come on board in that circumstance. So we expect that the judicial process in Cameroon be speedy enough to ensure that the common man should not have doubts as to the delays of the process, but that they have hope and great expectation that even though they delay, that they will yield the desired results, which definitely will benefit the true beneficiaries in that circumstance.
You just mentioned earlier along that justice delay has a problem. Don't you think this is equally directly connected to the fact that this journalist has not been buried since his corpse was discovered?
The fact that Martinez Zogo, the journalist, has not been buried for over 3 months now, it's worrying and troubling. Not necessarily a human rights concern, but it's a human rights concern because a corpse needs a decent burial, a befitting burial. And if it has been kept for this long, it raises a lot more questions. It's not just about rights, it's about health concerns as well. That would definitely impact on the lives of others, definitely who were around in that circumstance. We think that it's important for him to be given a speedy and a befitting burial, a decent burial at the appropriate time. And so that wherever he is kept, he should be kept under situations that will definitely not be of any negative act on any other accompanying human being, or most especially his own family that actually are worrying about that. And this is kept because they definitely are not quite satisfied and clear about certain things, which basically is the right now for them to have the clear findings as to what happened, who did what, and what definitely are the things that need to be done to make them feel that justice has taken its rightful course. It's a basic right for them to have. The fact that Martinez Zogo, the journalist, has not been buried for over 3 months now, it's worrying and troubling. Not necessarily a human rights concern, but it's a human rights concern because a corpse needs a decent burial, a befitting burial. And if it has been kept for this long, it raises a lot more questions. It's not just about rights, it's about health concerns as well. That would definitely impact on the lives of others, definitely who were around in that circumstance. We think that it's important for him to be given a speedy and a befitting burial, a decent burial at the appropriate time. And so that wherever he is kept, he should be kept under situations that will definitely not be of any negative act on any other accompanying human being, or most especially his own family that actually are worrying about that. And this is kept because they definitely are not quite satisfied and clear about certain things, which basically is the right now for them to have the clear findings as to what happened, who did what, and what definitely are the things that need to be done to make them feel that justice has taken its rightful course. It's a basic right for them to have.
And now, we will be commemorating World Press Freedom Day days from now. With such a tragic incident, many journalists are expressing concerns about their safety. Don't you think that some laws should be enacted to protect the rights of journalists? We talk about press freedom, but is the press really free in Cameroon?
Yes, agreed that silence or the slowdown of the investigative process and the prosecution of the perpetrators of the assassination on Martinez Zogo and a lot more others. You have Samuel Azizi, you have Gota, and the list continues, right? And the slowdown in this and the killings of the other journalists actually impacts on the lives of other journalists that are alive, who definitely are scared now to do their work because they don't know what happens to them the next minute. And we are just craving the indulgence of the authorities that be that. We should draw inference from the Cameroon Constitution, Article 45 of the Cameroon Constitution, drawing from Section 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which we call soft law, to build a national legislate a law for protection of journalists in the country, that at least they can be able to seize that particular law for their own defense and their own protection when situations of this nature do crop up. As I don't think Martinez would have been here if that law definitely had existed. So we want and crave the powers that be to ensure that the people's representative be able to legislate on a law for the strict protection on the rights of journalists. Thank you so very much, Equinoxe. Thank you very much, Talking Point, for giving me this opportunity to air my own views. I hope with all of this, they're definitely the authorities are going to expedite the investigations and the trial of the perpetrators of the assassination of Martinez Zogo and similar other persons who died following the man of God, the priest who actually was killed few days afterwards, and a lot more others that have followed. We expect thorough and full conscientious investigations on this, and so we can go to have a justice that will be considered the best. Why not in Africa? Why not in the world? That can happen here. It takes that willpower so to do. Thank you so very much, Equinoxe, for the opportunity. We will have to use this moment to thank the audience and once more for listening, and once more thank Immaculate Fogway for hosting this Talking Point. It was a unique occasion for me. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Gabi Abo. That was a human rights advocate and consultant. He's equally the executive director of Finders Group Initiative. And that's what will put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast. Thank you so much for your keen attention. See you tomorrow at 6 p.m. same time, God willing. Stay with us for more programs.